This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Well, hey there and happy Tuesday. Welcome to episode 61 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm happy to be chatting with you. You know what we're going to talk about today? We are going to talk about how to use HARO in your wedding business. HARO stands for Help a Reporter Out, and it is a wonderful service you can use to get mentioned in mainstream media, which of course results in media attention for your business, for your wedding business, and even better or equally as great, it results in really quality backlinks to your website. So we're going to go through all of those details, and I'm going to tell you how I have personally used it for my wedding venue, Vista View Events, and we've been mentioned on brides.com and shefinds.com twice. So HARO is, I love HARO. I have a free course about it. I'm going to tell you guys about it today, and we'll chat all about it and get all the details. I have talked about this topic before in the Wedding Business Bosses Facebook group that I'm an ambassador for, and I thought it would be cool to finally do a podcast about it. So before I get to that, you guys know that a while back I did a podcast episode dedicated to conferences happening in 2017 that we all might be interested in, because we know that face-to-face interaction and face-to-face relationships are pretty much the most important thing we can do in our business. That's my opinion anyway. And I found another one that I think you might be interested in, especially if you live in the California area. There is a conference happening one day, September 9th this year, 2017, in sunny San Diego. It's called Elevate Women, and I'm excited about it because it has all women speakers. There's 15 speakers, they're all women, and I found that really neat. And it's women who are dedicated to kind of raising each other up in leadership. You know, they're going to be telling stories about how they, have built businesses. Some of them work in kind of largely male-dominated fields, like the tech industry. How they focus on self-care, how they've developed their strengths, how they bounce back from failures. We all have those, and really how we can rid ourselves of imposter syndrome and a lot more. Eventbrite's going to have people there speaking. Trello, we all know Trello. Like, raise your hand if you're using Trello in your business. So I thought that was really neat, and there's about 100 people who are going. So it's not a huge conference. So I feel like it's not small either, but it's not, 1,000 people. So it's intimate. You'll probably get to know the speakers really well and the producers of the event. And so if you make it out there, again, that's September 9th in San Diego, and it's elevatewomen.org. I will throw that in the show notes. So if you want to tap your podcast player and click on the link if you're interested. If you make it out, let me know. And if you make it out, make sure you say hi to Kendall Burke. She is my coworker at Acuity Scheduling. She's one of the producers of this conference, and she's awesome. So if you make it out there, give her a little shout and tell her that you know me. We're basically best friends, so I'm kidding. We're not best friends, but we kind of are. Anyway, so that is Elevate Women. Like I say, let me know if you make it out there, and I think it's going to be great. I really, really loved the message that, hey, like, women are out here encouraging other women. I think that's really important. Obviously, I only interview women on this podcast. Okay, let's talk about HARO, you guys. HARO, as I mentioned, stands for Help a Reporter Out. The reason I was inspired to do an entire podcast episode about this is because I was listening to a podcast called The Blog Millionaire the other day, and I'm totally fine saying the name because this is what happened. And the man on there, what is his name? Brandon? I can't remember what his name is. I'm going to look it up right now because he's awesome. He has a huge blog, and, he knows his marketing stuff. But I was kind of surprised because he did an episode on HARO and how it can result in backlinks, which, is absolutely true. But I was surprised because he said in his episode that if you don't pay for a HARO account, you're probably never going, he didn't say probably, he said basically if you don't pay for a HARO account, you're never going to be quoted as a source. And that has not been my experience at all. I have just a free account. I have the whole time. And as I already mentioned, we've been mentioned on brides.com and shefinds.com. And those are not small websites. I mean, brides.com is probably one of the biggest wedding websites in the world. And shefinds.com, while it's not just wedding related, related, it's a huge site. And so I don't know if he meant just in, in his kind of space when you're talking about like getting quoted on Fox News and CNN and all of that. But, and maybe he did, because those are the places he's been quoted. Like I say, he has a huge blog. But anyway, it got me thinking, and I was like, geez, I don't agree with that, because again, I have a free account. That's what I teach in my free course, is just to get a free account. You don't need to pay $20 a month to get a text a little bit sooner than everyone else on HARO. And anyway, so let's kind of talk about what HARO is and how easy it really is to use the service and how it can really benefit your wedding business. First things first is, if you're interested, head on over, and all of these links will be in the show notes. So if you are working out or if you're driving, don't do this and drive, but if you're working out or you're doing something where you can't really get to your phone right now, just tap your podcast player later. I'll include all of these links so you can head over there. But we're going to go to helpareporter.com, and that's where you can sign up for a free account as a source on HARO. And you don't have to pay for an account. You certainly can. There are benefits to paying to a paid HARO account, such as I mentioned, you get emails earlier. You can actually get text messages. Like, I don't need another text clogging up my phone, and a couple of other benefits. I don't pay for an account, and I don't really see the need for it. But like I say, if you're interested in that, you sure can. But as far as what I'm going to talk about, let's just talk about a free account today. So head on over to helpareporter.com. You can sign up for a free account. You're signing up as a source. You don't want to sign up as a journalist, because you're not asking for sources. You want to be a source. And you're going to get a couple emails after this. The first thing you're going to get is an activation email. So you need to activate your account on HARO and give them all the details of your business and your website and things of that nature. And then you're also going to get a welcome email from them that includes the rules of using their website. So they do have some rules that are definitely worth reading and absolutely worth following, because it's a really handy service. And so I would hate for you to get kicked off the website for not following rules, or mostly it's saying, be kind and courteous, and don't be dishonest about what kind of business you run. And mostly it's also saying, don't save our reporters' information if you do get picked for a source, or if you do get picked to be a source, and try to just pitch them stories. And so a couple other things to think about, but also that's kind of just like courtesy. You know what I mean? So nothing shocking. I'm sorry. I don't mean to freak you out about the rules, but there are some ones that are worth paying attention to. And I think it really does bear worth saying again that if you do get picked to be a source, there's a lot of times that the reporter will email you from their personal email address. And so then you'll have that. So you really do need to be courteous with that email and not use it for your own purposes to pitch them outside of HARO. That's actually against HARO's policies. Prior to being accepted as a source, and we'll kind of get into this in a second, the email is hidden. So it's just a standard HARO email, and so it's just a bunch of numbers and letters. And so if you don't get picked, you don't ever know the journalist's email address anyway. But if you do, a lot of times when, the 3 times we've been picked, they email me back from their personal email address. So anyway, a couple of things to think about there. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is it's going to tell you when you sign up how many times a day you're going to get emails, and it's 3 times a day. It's on Eastern Standard Time, so it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, noon, and 4 o'clock, or 10 and 4 o'clock. So I think it's noon my time, so it's 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Or I'm sorry, I got that backwards. It's 10 o'clock my time. It's like noon Eastern Time. You can determine those, but it's 3 times a day, and there are different sections in the HARO emails. So there's tech, there's business and finance, there's lifestyle, there's general, there's like medical, things like that. And so where I have found the majority of my wedding pitches, because I've definitely pitched more than 3 times. I've been quoted 3 times, but I've absolutely pitched more than 3 times, because it's a numbers game. You have to keep trying, right? And I definitely do. So I have found the wedding pitches in either the general category or the lifestyle category. I don't typically find them in any other category, but I always check the other categories, because you never know when you might be a good fit for another story. We've talked a lot on this podcast about how multifaceted all of the business owners are that we've had on the show, even you are, and so don't discount the other categories. Maybe, you might be interested in being quoted because you're a working mom, or because you have a business degree, degree or a finance degree, or maybe you're really interested in budgeting or whatever it is. So I always find wedding stuff in general or lifestyle, but I always take a peek at the other categories too, because again, you never know when you might find a story that really speaks to something you're passionate about and you'd be a great fit for. Okay, so they come 3 times a day. So what I do for my HARO emails, you guys, is I run my email out of Gmail, and in Gmail, you can create a folder, and then you can filter emails based on the subject or the email address, so they bypass your inbox and go directly into that folder. And I have done that for my HARO emails because I don't want them clogging up my main inbox, and 3 emails a day is kind of a lot. I expect them now, and I'm excited to get them because I want to see if there's anyone I can pitch, but I still don't want them to clog up my main inbox. So I have created that filter. So my 3 emails a day completely bypass my inbox and they go to that one folder. And I just make sure to check them. I think it's important to say here that I don't check them every single day, every single email, because I don't have time, and I'm sure you don't either. I'm sure you're busy, but I tend to check them quite a bit. And when you're really in a big media push, or if you're trying to get more exposure for your business, then you absolutely do want to check them 3 times a day, almost right when they come in, if not right when they come in, because many times, I would say 9 times out of 10, the journalist who's requesting the source is on a serious deadline. I have seen source requests that are due, in a matter of hours, or they're due like at the end of the night that night or the next day. That's not a lot of time. And so it's really important not to I'll check that next week, because you're going to miss all of the stories for that last week. So if you really are looking for exposure for your business, or you're really in a big media push, or, you just want to kind of create those quality backlinks from quality sources, then you definitely want to check as soon as you have time, or almost right away, so that you can be one of the first people to pitch those journalists, right? And so what kind of stories are they pitching for? There's a huge variety, there's thousands and thousands of journalists are signed up on HARO, and as are sources, but don't let that scare you off. I'll tell you the articles that we have been mentioned on for Vista View events. The one on brides.com is about what to look for in a wedding planner. And it's like a list article. So we happen to be number 1 on the list, which I think is good for us. And then the one of them on She Finds is like the cons of Pinterest brides. So brides who, are like the decorating mistakes that brides make. And my tip was that they are obsessed with Pinterest, and that they think that if they don't have a Pinterest quality wedding, that everything is going to just go down the tubes. And then many times the reality is they can't really afford everything on Pinterest because it's so curated and styled. And so anyway, and then the other one I actually can't remember. I'm linking them up. So they're in the show notes. Take a peek at them there. But so those are kind of the examples. And then actually another one that I didn't get to, my son got sick. Last week I was going to talk to a journalist about the wedding tax. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but there is a big discussion, in the last couple of years about the wedding tax and why wedding vendors charge more to do their services for weddings than they do for, just regular parties. And so I was going to talk to her really candidly about my perspective on that, being a wedding venue owner, but I didn't get back to it. My son got sick that day, and I was just like, oh, sorry, I just can't. Anyway, so there's lots of options. You certainly don't have to pitch. You can. I don't think I've said that. These are not required. You don't need to pitch to them. You'll constantly and consistently get the emails. If you never pitch and you just want to look at the emails to get an idea of what media is looking for, great. That's awesome too. The next thing is pitching yourself to the reporter. So this is really important. And this is all, again, you guys, I go into a lot more detail in my free course, which you can find at shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/courses. I will put that in the show notes as well. In my free course, I also include the exact emails that I send to reporters. And the most important thing here, again, is a couple of things. And these are just kind of standard. I've talked about these before, just in general. But the first is that you got to get to the point. You don't want to make it a long, drawn out, your life story and why, your 10-year journey of being in the wedding industry, and because you think that they need all of that information to make you seem credible and valid. That's just not true. You want to break your email up into 3 parts, why are you emailing them? What are your tips, or like, what's your answer to their pitch source? And then who are you? That's how I structure my emails, and that's it. So I always just say, I literally just make it so clear, and I make it clear in the subject line too, because they are busy. They are, siphoning through tons and tons and tons of emails. And so I want them to know exactly why I'm emailing them. So it makes it easy for them to choose me as a source. And so my subject line is always something like, response to your HARO inquiry about the biggest wedding mistakes that brides make. And then I just say, hi, my name is Kinsey. Hope you're having a great day. This email is in response to the biggest wedding mistakes that brides make. Here are the two things that I think are the biggest mistakes brides make. I number them. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. Again, my name is Kinsey Roberts. I own a wedding venue. I also host a podcast. Here are the links to my websites. If I can do anything else for you, let me know. And if they pick me, they pick me. And we go on from there, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And if they don't, they don't. I don't email them again. I don't say, hey, are you going to choose me for your story? And I really encourage you not to do that either, because I don't think that you would like that, and I certainly wouldn't like that, and then they're not going to choose you again. I'll tell you that the reporter, the writer who's quoted us twice on She Finds has been the same writer. And I think that's because I've been very matter of fact, very clear, and I also share her other stuff. And I talk about this again in the free course on my website. But it's that simple. I know that sounds really easy, and the truth is, it is easy. If they want more details from you, they will ask, and then you can give them more details. You don't need to write them a novel in your first email, because they don't have time for that. Let them decide if they want more information from you, right? Okay, awesome. So the other thing too is, once they do pick you to be a source in their story, they'll let you know. They'll say, hey, thanks so much for your tips. Here's the story. Here's the link to the story. Now, you can do a couple of things. You can just wait for them to email you. And, if it's been, months, or weeks, I just forget about it. But sometimes it is going to be, 3, 4, or 5 weeks before they email you back and publish their story. And once it's been a really happy surprise, because it was like 4 weeks out, and I was like, oh, cool, happy day, I'm listed. And then the other, so you can just wait for them to email you the link to the story that you've been mentioned in. Or what I do is I will follow up probably every couple of days for like 2 to 3 weeks on that website, and I'll just search that reporter's name and see if it's been published. Because the other thing too is that they are really busy, and so they might not always be able to get to you and say, hey, here's a link to the story I quoted you in. And so as someone who's interested in that exposure for their business, and as someone who's interested in sharing those stories that are written, that were quoted in, I do my own due diligence and follow up myself. So I'll check the website, I'll type in their name and search for the articles they've written. And I'll do that for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's how I found the Brides article and one of the She Finds articles, or blog posts, articles on their site. And they did eventually email me, but I found them first. So that means I'm able to share them. That's credibility for us. And that means I can promote them on our website and, talk about them on this podcast. And so I really encourage you not to just wait for them to email you. So kind of be proactive there and follow up yourself for a couple of weeks. You don't have to, beat that dead horse for 6 months, but do that, and then you can share it sooner rather than later. And they also appreciate that, because the more you share, the more kind of social proof that they have for their own business. They're writers, right? So it's really mutually beneficial. And so the next thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of building a relationship with your reporter. So the one way not to do that is to email them and pitch them outside of HARO. I want to say it again because I think this is so important. Please, please, please do not pitch these reporters outside of HARO just because you're going to have their email address. Number one, it's against HARO's terms of service. And number two, it's just not the right thing to do. But what you can do, and what I think is valuable, and I have no proof that this is valuable, but I think just as someone who does get pitched to be on my podcast and who also pitches other people to be on their podcasts and for guest blog posts and things of that nature, I like to share other people's stuff. And so I do the same for the people who have been nice enough to quote us in their blog posts on HARO. So even though we're not quoted, we only were quoted in one story, I will go back and share that writer's other blog posts, because they typically write about weddings. That's what they do. That's one of their mainstays. And so it's relevant content for my audience on the venue side. And I think it's, kind of good karma. They quoted us once, and so I'm going to share their stuff. So I highly encourage that. And you never know where that will lead. I kind of talked about this the other day with, in the Heart-Centered Biz Bosses, Raina did a Selling with Generosity kind of summit. And my video during that kind of summit was all about building relationships with human beings. And so I feel like that's just one of the things that you can do to, again, kind of spread that karma and build a good relationship with that reporter. And you never know if they're still watching, because you can tag them. You can, again, if they get their stuff shared, that's social proof for them. That tells them they're doing a good job. And so finally, and I'll just say this last thing. I know this is going to be kind of a shorter episode, but I wanted to be like, hey, do these things. Why is this a good idea? Why should you waste your time? There's so many other things you could be doing. And I really believe that, the fact is that SEO is still really valuable. It always has been. It still is. And getting backlinks is still really valuable for your website. It's, having a backlink from brides.com is great for VistaView events, because even though I launched our digital assets, over a year before the venue itself was done, we're still a new website. We've only been on the internet for, 460 days now, or a little bit more, whatever it is. And that's nothing really, in the history of the internet, that's not really that much. And so by having these quality backlinks, it really kind of boosts our, street cred in Google. And it's also really great for our brides in our local community to see on our website, as mentioned in Brides or She Finds, etc. They find that really neat, and they're like, wow, you've been mentioned on Brides. It's one of our most clicked links on our site. And we get referrals, like web referrals. I don't think they're going to result in bookings, because it's not like Colorado brides specifically are looking at that blog post. But I don't know that for sure. You never know where a referral might come from. But we do get web traffic from that link for sure. And as well as the She Finds link. So I am totally fine with that. I did that work, months ago, and I'm still getting traffic from it. So I'm completely fine with that. And it doesn't take a lot of time, you guys. I have, aside from the wedding tax reporter that I was going to talk to, that was going to be my first really detailed HARO pitch. We were going to get on the phone even, which could happen to you. Like, they could want to get on the phone with you because they want to really do a deep profile. But these other ones were really quick. I sent that really clear information, and I was really clear about who I was, and I didn't have to do anything else. And now we have those backlinks. And even if you do have to get on the phone, or you do need to do a deeper dive, or they do want more information via email, who cares? You're going to do it once, and then that backlink is going to live forever. And it's absolutely worth it. And like I say, if you kind of strategically look through your HARO emails and, either filter them out, or just say, I am in a media push right now, or I do want more exposure for my business. So, for the next 30 days, I'm going to look at every HARO email and pitch and pitch and pitch. Then great. You have a strategy down, and you know that every day you're going to look at HARO emails. You do that for 30, 60 days, whatever your goals are. And then you back off a little bit from HARO. Absolutely fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with pitching. I think that, Claire Swinarski said it in her episode here. So did Jen from How to Bridesmaid for Hire on her episode here, is that just pitching is almost a lot about consistency. Of course, you have to have a good story and you have to be knowledgeable and things of that nature, but it's also too just about being consistent and constantly showing up and constantly getting in touch with people and just saying, hey, remember me, I'm still here. And so I think that that's why I love HARO. It doesn't take up too much time, and it's one of those things that will, you'll reap the benefits long after you've sent that pitch email that's been accepted by a reporter. So if you would like more detailed information, I walk you through how to sign up for your HARO account. I give you those exact emails that I send to reporters that have gotten us mentioned on Brides and She Finds. Then you can go to shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/courses, sign up for the HARO course. It is 100% free. I just want you to know how to do it because I think it's super valuable for us. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, Kinsey, at shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com, or you may find me on Instagram, as always, at shecreatesbusiness. Thank you so much, guys. We are coming in under 25 minutes today. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. And don't forget about elevatewomen.org. If you're interested in that, if you're going to be in San Diego, it's September 9th of this year, 2017. And make sure you say hi to Kendall Burke from Acuity Scheduling. Thanks so much, ladies. Talk to you later.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.